Will you decide to move on and concentrate on the things you can control, according to Seneca? We suffer more in imagination than in reality. The majority of the pain we experience is not a result of real-life events, but rather the way we perceive those experiences in our thoughts. We dwell on our past mistakes, torture ourselves with worries about the future, and let minor annoyances turn into major sources of frustration. But what if you learned yourself to recognize this process and stop it instead? What if instead of being a victim of your emotions, you were the architect of them? This is why you need to tell yourself every day, I am in control of my mind. Mind, I do not allow anything outside of me to have control over me unless I give it permission. This is not simply a saying, it is a principle that may transform your entire life if you put it into practice. Therefore, the next time anything threatens to ruin your mood, take a moment to halt. Take a moment to breathe and ask yourself, do I want to allow this to have power over me, or do I want to maintain control over myself? The reality is that no one can make you feel anything until you give them permission to do. So there is no nasty stranger, no failed plan, and not even an unjust situation. The world will always be unpredictable. But what about your mind that belongs to you? If you master this, you will master everything. Number 2, I can handle 2. I can handle anything that comes my way. Handle anything that comes my way. Try to remember a time in your life when you felt fully overwhelmed, as if the burden of your troubles was too heavy for you to carry. It could have been a traumatic breakup, the death of someone you cared about, financial difficulties, or a failure that made you lose faith in yourself. At that point, you may have thought to yourself, I don't know if I can do this. I am unsure if I will be able to get through this. And nevertheless, you are here. You made it through all of it. You made it through the anguish, the uncertainty, and the times when you thought it was impossible. It is possible that it transformed you. It is possible that it left scars, however you dealt with it. And if you were able to deal with it previously, what makes you believe you won't be able to deal with what comes next? Life is not just, it has never been, and it will never be. Plans will not work out. You will be let down by people. You will be faced with unexpected problems that will come out of nowhere and knock you down. However, hardship is not the enemy. It is your way of thinking that decides if you will fall apart when faced with pressure or if you will rise to the occasion. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was born under slavery and subsequently became one of the greatest instructors of resilience, remarked, difficulties show a person's true character. Adversity does not make you weak. It shows you the strength that you have always had within of you. Picture two people who are experiencing the same calamity, such as a financial crisis, a betrayal, or a significant personal failure. One of them falls apart, overcome by fear and hopelessness, certain that life is unjust and that they are destined to fail. The other person rises up, takes a deep breath, and says, this isn't the best situation, but I will find a way to deal with it. I always do it. What is it that makes these two folks different? Their way of thinking, not their situation. And that is why you need to remind yourself of the following every morning before the world becomes chaotic. I am capable of dealing with any challenges that arise. This is not a case of wishful thinking that is true. You have demonstrated this to yourself many times before. You have overcome challenges that previously appeared insurmountable, and yet you have emerged victorious. It is possible that it was not flawless. It's possible that you encountered some obstacles along the route. However you dealt with it, this signifies that you are capable of dealing with whatever happens next. Let's take a moment to go over this. In more detail, Seneca once wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind. As labor does the body, consider the way that muscles develop. Your muscles undergo microscopic tears as you lift weights, and they become stronger as they mend. Growth cannot happen without resistance or conflict. The same is true for your personality and your thoughts. You will continue to be weak if you never encounter difficulties and everything is always simple. However, each time you face a challenge and persevere rather than giving up, you become more resilient in your mind. That is why difficult times should not be feared, they should be welcomed. Instead, they are in the process of training. They are preparing you to be someone who can handle any situation without falling apart. The majority of our worry is caused by uncertainty, the lack of knowledge, the possibilities, the sensation that we have no influence over what will happen in the future. However, consider this. How many times have you been anxious about something only to find out later that the worry was much worse than the actual situation? Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled amid times of epidemic conflict and betrayal, stated in Meditations, "You have power over your mind." Not outside events. When you understand this, you will discover your own strength. This means that you may not be able to control what happens, but you can always control how you respond to it. The only thing you need to concentrate on is your response. Consider this: has worrying ever helped you solve a problem? Has overthink thinking ever made a situation less complicated? Number action is what does resilience does. If you remind yourself every day, no matter what happens today, I will handle it, you will be able to remain cool and think rationally instead of being overwhelmed by dread. Remember all the things that you used to think would destroy you. The evenings when you cried, the days when you felt confused, the times you thought this is impossible for me, but you did it. Nonetheless, you might not have gotten through it without any injuries, but you emerged from it with greater strength, wisdom, and readiness for what lies ahead, and that is the reason you need to remind yourself of this every day. I have made it through every single one of my worst days. I have dealt with every obstacle that life has presented to me. I will take care of whatever happens next. This is not an example of blind optimism. This is the truth. You have the evidence. You have experienced hard difficulties in the past, and each time you discovered a means to move ahead. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by an unexpected event in your life, take a moment to stop and breathe. Take a deep breath and say the following before you respond with fear or frustration. I can take care of this. I will find a way. Regardless of how horrible it appears, I always do it. This is the case because it is the truth. You are more powerful than you realize. You have more abilities than you think you do. And regardless of what happens next, you will remain strong, you will succeed, you will survive, and you will take care of it. Number 3, my past does not define. 3. My past does not define me. Me. There are too many people who are trapped by their past. They continue to dwell on their past mistakes, which leads them to allow their previous failures to dictate their current situation and limit their future. It is similar to dragging a thick chain behind you that is made up of sentiments of regret, guilt, and self-doubt. That said, the truth is that your history does not dictate what your future will be. This is a chance to learn. There is a chance that you have committed some errors. You may have caused other people pain. There is a chance that you have not succeeded, that you have failed, or that you have selected a path that you now regret. That being said, you are not required to be the same person today that you were yesterday. You have the option to either let go of the past and move forward, or to continue to carry the weight of the past with you at all times. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, once said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Keep it in mind, the past can only affect you if you allow it to do so. You have the chance to update your story every day and at any time. On the other hand, most people do not agree with this. They think to themselves, this is simply who I am. I have always struggled. I have never been successful. This is just how I am. They get trapped in a narrative that they have made for themselves. This myth informs them that they are not worthy, that they are not able to do things, or that they will always be defined by the choices they made in the past. This is not genuine every day. Marcus Aurelius, the well-known Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, would remind himself. Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life now. Take full use of what is left and live it to the fullest. This represents a major shift in the manner of thinking. Consider your former life, which encompasses everything that has occurred up to this point. As being complete, you are not required to provide it with anything. You are not obligated to fulfill its responsibilities. From now on, you are a new person who can live however you choose. Just because you have made a bad decision, hurt someone, or taken a wrong turn in life, at some point, does not mean that you are doomed to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Your response to your mistakes is what defines you, not the faults themselves. Think of a sculptor working on a masterpiece. With each strike of the chisel, they chip away the unnecessary parts of the stone. It looks unrefined, incomplete, and even chaotic at first glance, but after some time and effort, the sculpture begins to take shape. You are the statue. Every error, every lesson, and every moment of improvement has contributed to your development. Your history does not make you unworthy, it makes you a person. The problem is, you let it. The event itself is neutral, it is your interpretation of it that gives it meaning. Picture yourself strolling down the street when a stranger suddenly labels you an idiot. You have two options. You can take offense, get defensive, dispute, and let the insult spoil your day. Alternatively, you might remind yourself that this person's comments have no significance until you give them power. If a fool labels you, a fool, does it mean you are one, or does it just show that they are foolish themselves? Or consider a time when someone cut you off while you were driving. You can feel frustrated or even angry. Right away, you may honk, yell, or allow your blood pressure to increase. But what is the purpose of this reaction? It does not alter the events that took place. The other motorist does not learn anything from it. It merely disrupts your own sense of calm. At that point, you had another choice. You could take a deep breath, let it go, and tell yourself that a single irresponsible motorist is not worth your attention. Epictetus was a Stoic philosopher who was born into slavery and later achieved his freedom. He recognized the true power of self-control. He added, if someone is able to get you to react, understand that your mind is also involved in the provocation. This is a deep truth. If someone gets you furious, it is not because of what they did, but because you let their actions upset you. You cannot be made to feel offended by anyone. You cannot be made to feel inferior by anyone. Unless you give someone the ability to manage your emotions, they will not be able to do so. This understanding does not require you to ignore your feelings or pretend that you are not experiencing pain, frustration, or disappointment when you are injured or wronged. It is normal to feel things strongly. The important thing is to understand that just because you experience an emotion doesn't imply you have to do something about it. Emotions are similar to ocean waves in that they rise and fall and come and go. However, you do not have to let a powerful wave to pull you under. Simply because it is strong, feeling an emotion is not the same as allowing it to dictate your behavior. You may feel angry if someone says anything insulting to you that is typical. However, do you allow that anger to determine how you respond? Do you become angry? Are you wasting your energy by trying to prove something? Or do you take a break, breathe, and tell yourself that you do not have to respond? This is where the majority of folks struggle. They think that responding with rage or hostility makes them appear strong. However, the real test of strength is remaining composed when others are not. The ability to keep someone else's negative attitude from affecting your own mindset is a true sign of strength. Seneca, another prominent Stoic philosopher, stated, a wise man is content with his own approval. When you have complete control over yourself, there is no need to dispute, establish your worth, or win every conflict. You realize that your peace of mind is more valuable than your pride. Every day, you should ask yourself, who do I want to be in charge of my feelings? Should I allow a harsh stranger to determine how I feel? Should I allow a troll on the internet to upset me? Should I let a coworker who is toxic to control how I feel about myself? Or do I want to be the one who is in charge? When you allow someone else to control your feelings, you are giving them access to your thoughts. However, you do not have to continue living like this. You are welcome to take those keys back. You can keep reminding yourself that you always have the power to choose how you respond. Therefore, every morning, repeat this to yourself. I will not allow other people to dictate how I feel. I will be patient. I choose to be peaceful. I select strength. Keep saying it until it feels natural. Keep saying it until negativity is no longer able to get in. You will become untouchable the instant you grasp this and genuinely comprehend that your reaction is always under your control. Number 5, I deserve good. 5. I deserve good things. Music. Things a lot of individuals go through life without realizing that they are undermining their own happiness. They do not think that they are worthy of nice things. They reject love, opportunity, and success, and sometimes even happiness itself. all because of their deep-rooted self-doubt. This type of thinking comes from the feeling that we are worthless, undeserving, or just not good enough in some way. However, the reality is that you deserve to have wonderful things in your life. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, remarked, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This is important because a lot of us waste our time and energy because we think we do not deserve to be happy or successful when opportunities present ourselves. We ignore them when love is presented to us, we refuse it, and we allow fear or self-criticism to keep us from going for what we really desire. We have conviao,